this TA Insights piece, we've come down to an old stomping ground of mine, which is called Cleverley Mere, down in Essex, now run by Ash Bradbury as Ashbury Fisheries. It's a place that it's got a little syndicate on it. You can book it out for exclusive fishing as well. And it was nice when I used to fish it, but man, now it's super special, super carpy. It's clearly in very good hands. You've got beautifully mown paths to walk around the lake, but the rest of nature has been allowed to just grow and manifest, and you've got these amazing canopies and thick, lush weed beds up to the surface, like tap clear water, an amazing stock of fish too. And when I used to fish it, the best part of 10 years ago, it was quite a good hunting ground, but I didn't catch them all. So it's really nice to come back here for this session and see if we can get another bite or two. So I came down last night. It's a little bit of a trek from where I live, so I thought I'll make a head start, come down the night before and see what I can learn through the night. Critically, those first couple of hours into darkness, because now it's autumn, fish are getting more and more nocturnal, and I wanted to have some idea of where they might be and what they might be doing. I did a lap or two of the lake yesterday, late afternoon, about an hour before dusk, found some fish predictably around the thickest weed, and then I led it about, found a beautiful clear spot, and I thought, well, I'm going to put some bait on it and just leave it. So I didn't fish at all last night. It was all about putting in some free safe food in an area where I'd seen some fish, and then listening throughout the night and seeing what sort of vibe we got come the morning. Well, the vibe we got was that the fish didn't really get on the bait where I was. They were down here in some really deep water in front of an unfished swim, where they've been, I think, harvesting bloodworm in some really deep water that you can't get a good line lay to from anywhere. And it's just the usual story, you know, on lakes that see a bit of pressure, the fish are very, very aware of the game. They know the line angles, they know the places they can feed safely. And the area they're in, historically, was the deepest part of the lake, and it got overlooked 10 years ago when I used to fish here. And now it's in front of a swim that you can't fish, it's not a swim. And more interestingly, it's also just to the side of a swim that you can fish but never gets fished. I'll come on to more of that later on, but it's autumn. It's the last few days of September. We've got a great moon phase the next couple of days. Bit of cloud cover. It's still very, very warm. We're getting that Indian summer. We've got it all to play for. A couple of nights, some big fish, clear weedy water, autumn. It's absolutely banging. I want to get my gear down in this swim, get it sorted out, see if we can put something together. So when I find fish feeding naturally on what probably is just bloodworm in deep water and so on, it's clearly not angler's bait, because you just can't really fish this area unless you fished it from here. And there would have been no one on anyway since last weekend. It's Wednesday today, so I'm sure they're feeding on naturals. And when they find a larder that they're going to harvest, I'm usually always of the mind that I want them to do what they're doing until whatever time that dissipates, which will be about now mid to late morning, depending on how bright the sun is. We've got a fair bit of cloud today, so there's still little bits going on, but if you let that feeding phase just sort of run out of its own accord, and the fish drift away to do whatever they're going to do during the day, sit in the weed beds, visit the margins, whatever, then because they haven't been pushed away from feeding on that larder, they will almost always come back to it same time the next day. Although I suspect the fish have been here during the night. There was a few sort of frothy swaves of bubbles when I first walked down here, just as it was getting light this morning. So that's the intention. I mean, really now that it's dying off to almost nothing, I've put a few 12 millers just up the margin a little bit over the band of weed where I've seen them fizz in. But what I'm going to do is just give this another half an hour, make sure that they've done what they want to do, and then I'm going to get some waders on, creep down the margin and just check that there's no weed. I think because it is a deep water zone, it's going to be just clean, smooth silt, and we're just going to fish it with eye, no wrapping sticks, catapult. That's my intention, that's how I think it's going to unfold. Whether we can get a bite from here or not, I don't know, but this certainly seems like the zone to be in. Areas that they're just feeding in naturally, where they're just comfortable. Yeah, it looks the one, looks really good. It's so hard that I'm surprised we was even seeing bubbles coming up. Absolutely mint bit of real estate that is. So the zone to our right is the banker zone, unquestionably. It's where the fish have been feeding very, very comfortably. That's the spot. We're going to have 2 rods on that, just over this band of weed, and then just lightly bait it with boilies. But I want to get 3 rods in the equation if I can, for obvious reasons. There's a nice little alcove, a little elbow in the weed to the left. And I forgot how deep it is out there, but you've got double foot of water throughout this area, even though the weed's on the surface. But there is a little clearing there, which I'm just trying to pinpoint with a little 2-ounce lead on the end of the line. And it's there. Glides really, really smoothly. Not really good line lay, but we can deal with that. But I can just imagine them travelling in these corridors between the weed beds. And although it's an area I haven't actually seen a fish, it was a terrible cast. Oh, it's nice and hard there. Yeah, it's just silk there. Although we haven't seen a fish here, I know they get into this corner quite a lot. Well, I should say they did 10 years ago. That was one of the first trees I got up when I got here yesterday, and I saw a fish down there. So this just looks prime to me for a backup spot. So again, single bait, maybe a stringer, and maybe a pouch full of 2 boilies. And we're going to do the same here. And yeah, I'm liking the look of this. I have 1 more flick out there. I think I've got it clipped up exactly right. If I hold the rod at the same point, I've got the tree on the horizon. It's probably about 5 wraps out. There we go. Donk, absolutely sublime that is. All I'll have to do is sink the line from the lead back towards me so I can get it down in that alcove. If I fish a tauter line, then it would just, obviously I can't get the line down because of the weed in close, so it's going to be tips up, sink the line from the lead back to me. The lines are just going to drape over this wall of weed, keep my eyes open for the swans, and we should be in the game. But I think if we're lucky enough to catch a fish, it's going to be in the chest waders. And a lot of this weed, although it's still on the surface, because it's almost October now, it's, you know, it's lost its fortitude, it's dying back. I'm hoping we won't have too much trouble getting a fish through it, but time will tell. It's a lovely spot there. I've baited a fair few spots around the edge. Now you're not allowed to stalk at Cleverley Mere, you can only fish from designated swims, but I put some bait in the edges just as a learning tool really, because I like watching them, but which we've been doing. We've been watching them eating the bait and flanking on the bait and so on, but a couple of swims up, that's backwards, there's a spot that I haven't put any bait and they keep coming in and having a look at. Like I say, there's nothing down there, it just looks like a little crater in the weed. There's 3 fish on it now, and I just went down there with my rod with braid, I was going to make sure they weren't there obviously, and just have a little donk and see if I could ascertain how to fish it and put a bit of bait on it. But they kept coming in, these 3 fish. Well, there was 2 most of the time, and then a third one came in. They're obviously fixated on it. There's the odd pinprick bubble coming up. It's only about 2.5 foot deep, but I'm just going to try and get a bite. I'm just going to put a 1 ounce lead on, short little choddy and a pop-up because it looks dirty down there, and see if we can catch one of these fish on a little opportunistic trap. So I'm going to quickly see if I can tie up a chod, get everything sorted and get down there. He's coming through right close. You might be able to see him. They've gone again. I might have to put something a bit more obvious on. Well, I had the fish dropping over the spot. Oh, it's not really a spot, just grazing over the soft weed. And a couple of times very close to where the hook bait was. Sure I was presented, but I'm just going to try a little bit of a more obvious hook bait, which I very rarely do, but there's no other bait down there. And I think something a little bit more obvious might pique some response. So I'm just going to go and change this to a little yellow manila. Well, in that time, two fish did come through. One of them had a quick look at the bit of yellow and didn't seem to like the look of it. They carried on going. They weren't hanging around and picking at bits of weed like they were earlier. It may be that we're losing the light now and it's early evening. We're going to have darkness in about 30 minutes. But the takeaway is that they're very, very interested in that spot. It's the only spot on the lake where I've seen protracted carp visitations and there's no bait there. They're just going there because they want to. So I think with a little bit of work we can get it right and hopefully get a bite off it tomorrow. But in the meantime it's time to admit defeat, return to camp, get some fresh rigs tied and get fishing properly for the night. Well, good morning. It's one night into our 2-night session and we are fishless, and we shouldn't be fishless because we did hook one. So about 9:30 last night, on the spot, on the zone where they'd been fizzing, we got the bite we wanted, and it locked me up in a weed. Big trauma. Had to get in with chesties. Obviously it's pitch black, even the moon hadn't come up at that point. And hand-lined it, stripping away weed, like a huge amount of weed, crazy amount of weed. And the fish was still on and I've got my hand on its head. I was just reaching down the leader, I thought it was gone at that point. I'm hand-lining it up and then I felt its head, and I put my head torch on with a red beam as I was stripping it away, and I felt its head, and I don't know, it wasn't a massive fish, but it was a 20-pounder probably, and I turned my light off and I shouted to Tom to throw me the net, and just as he was about to do that, he gave a kick and came off, which was a proper kick in the kahunas. So the upshot of that was that I decided to persevere with the fish itself had cleared a fair bit of that wall of weed. But I decided I was just going to get my weed rake out of the van and clear a channel so that I could get my lines down through it, but also so obviously if I got another bite I could land the fish. That bite had come over quite a bit of bait, so it was a positive thing, and I thought, you know, we've got something to work with here. But I then spent about 45 minutes in the water raking out the weed, and I think after that I obviously got the rods repositioned, catapulted some baits out, and I was happy. But since then there's been nothing here at all. And I think that from the carp's perspective, you know, you've got a towering 10-foot wall, literally a wall of weed that runs along the perimeter of the zone they were comfortable in, and that's suddenly removed in a section that's maybe a rod length wide. I just feel like they were here for a reason. They had that security blanket, and I've just ruined their habitat a bit out of necessity. But they're not here this morning at all. No liners, didn't hear any in the night, and there's no fizzing. When you look at what's going on, well, there's nothing going on out there now compared to yesterday. I mean, this time yesterday it was alive out there. So, need to recalibrate, recoup. I'm very much a user and a fan of the SBX braid. Use it for all my weed fishing where it's allowed, and I always have my spare spools and spare reels in the van loaded with braid. And because there's quite a few rules here which Ash has sensibly got in place, it didn't even cross my mind that I might be allowed to use braid, but actually you are. So I'm cursing myself. Do I drive 90 minutes home and then back again, obviously with my spare spools, or do I try and scrape something together? I found some spare SBX in the van. Tom's had a spare spool as well, so I'm stripping this line off of my spare long range spools and putting it into the lime recycling. And what I'm going to do is get some braid on here. We're going to move swims. So the other half of the story is that the fish are now where I spent the first night without fishing. The area that I put the bait on, there's bits of fizzing. I think they've eaten it all. The coots have been going out there and they're not picking anything up now. I think the fish have been up there all night. They've ransacked that area. I've seen 7 shows, fizzers going on in the zone, a couple over where I put the bait. They've just done a complete U-turn on me, pulled my pants down. I've ruined this area. We need to move, but if I'm going to fish effectively, I've got to get the braid on because the weed really is savage. So they were saying bright sunshine, which would have killed off any bite time, but at the moment it's still solid cloud. So I'm racing against the clock to get a couple of rods spooled up with braid. I know the wraps to that spot. I'm going to put some stringers out, maybe a tiny bit of bait, and if this cloud holds, we might be able to nick one by lunchtime, but maybe I'm expecting too much. It's obviously fishing very moody and very tricky. The fact that they were harvesting this zone and loving this zone so much, and now they've just completely vacated, is not a good sign. But it's a pressured lake, you know. It's not pressured this week, it's nice and quiet actually, but these fish have been under pressure for a long time. They know the crack, you know. It's a proper Essex history water. They're no mugs. So I'm going to get on with what I'm doing, get spooled up with some braid, and we're going to have a swim move. Well, hoping to capitalise on this early feeding opportunity, praying that the sun doesn't come through and kill off our chances, but right now it looks flipping good. Fish are out there, and it's a zone that I baited on the first night. You might remember me mentioning that I didn't fish, and the coots aren't coming up with anything there. There's been bits of fizz. I'm sure all of that bait is now gone, but because it was active bait, there'll be a lot of smell down there still, and the silt, it is soft out there. It's clean but soft, so I'll be confident that they'll be rooting around looking for stuff. Hopefully, we haven't got long till this period passes, but we've just put 2 stringers out there. I've got braid on now, got reasonable drops with them both. I know it's clean out there actually, but it is soft. But I'm just gonna see if we can get a bite just on single stringers. They're definitely up this end. The biggest weapon in carp fishing right now costs nothing, everybody can do it, and it's just your eyes. And the greatest, well, the biggest reason for it being the biggest weapon right now is because less or fewer and fewer anglers are using their eyes. Because we're in this world of social media, where you just see it walking down the high street, don't you? It's a sad time, but everyone is so oblivious to their immediate surroundings now that they're just fixated on that. And that is now such a massive part of carp fishing, to the point that it's inhibiting such a huge amount of anglers that there has never been a bigger edge to be optically proactive and creating your own chances out of nothing, because you can be the only one doing it on a lot of lakes. We all have phones, we all do a bit of social media and God knows what else, but I do it like almost always once it's dark. You know, you won't, unless I've got something urgent to do, like the phone just stays out the way. And when people just go in a swim, they get everything how they want it, bait up, and then they just go in and then they're just straight onto Facebook or Pornhub or whatever the Wi-Fi is allowing them to have. And it's not really going to help you catch any carp. And if you're going to do any of that, you know, wait until it's got dark, because your eyes are your biggest weapon. And every carp that I'm ever lucky enough to catch, if I track back the stack of dominoes to the point, to the tipping point, it's always a visual opportunity. Every single time, for every carp I'm lucky enough to catch. So that's got to tell you something, hasn't it? So if all the carp you're catching are down to your eyes looking, then you look, you know, it's like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You just look harder and you strive harder. The opportunities only come at you through you analysing and taking that data on by staring all the time, and listening, of course, is the secondary but almost as important. And it's allowed us to do lots of things in different swims, and albeit we've still got a dry net, which is frustrating me, this is how I go about my carp fishing on every single session that I go on, because I want to catch carp, and I'm not telling you guys that you have to do it relentlessly like this. I know a lot of people just want to go fishing and then put the rods out and then switch off and have a pizza and chill out. Absolutely fine. But if you do that and you don't catch, don't go away from the lake blaming your bait or blaming the bailiff or blaming the bloke opposite. It's on you. And I want to catch carp. That's what I'm here for. I love catching carp. I love the whole process of trying to catch them. I quite like it because I'm a bit of a piscatorial masochist when it's like this and it's beating me up and I can't catch them, because I'm just trying to break through and get one. But that breakthrough will always come through what you're seeing. I promise you, there is no more valuable weapon. And I've been lucky enough over the years to fish with some brilliant, brilliant anglers. And I'll tell you what, it's the common denominator in every single one of them. And it's a rarefied skill now that's almost become, it's almost like a forgotten art now, looking at the water, you know, because of the modern age of tech. So yeah, so we've tried loads of different things. Nothing's worked yet. I'm about to get in the water and do another task. Always seem to have something to do. I should just lie down for a half hour, I think. But there's a massive weed berg out in front of this swim, which I need to sort out so that I can get good line layout to the spot. And if we hook one on the spot tonight, we've got a good chance of getting it in. We've now got braid on all the rods. The rod that I positioned using the marker float has just been cooted, so I'm tearing out what's left of my air with that. Things are against us, but I'm confident that if I keep looking and keep trying and keep working, then I can force something to happen. So that's what we're doing. Well, I was just about to get the chest waders on and start clearing this weed berg out to the left so I could get sorted for the night. And the rod that we positioned to the far margin using the float yielded a very, very violent take, which you always do get with braid actually, but we're into a carp. We're also into a bivvy sized ball of weed. I've just got to hope and pray that this guy is still on. I can't feel anything now, but it is moving. I've just got to slowly keep it coming towards me and pray that the fish is still on. No idea if he is. But this is exactly why you need braid, because I doubt I'd be able to keep all this moving with the stretching mono. But with braid, you know, I'm still only at test curve, so I've got about 3.25 pound of pressure on the fish, but so it's not load, but it's all getting transmitted directly to the fish instead of being dissipated out through the line stretch. And it's allowing me just to keep this load of weed slowly coming in towards me. Funnily enough, this was the rod that got cooted about 20 minutes ago. And I thought it was out of the game because I haven't got a hardened hook bait on, and I thought, oh, all that effort to get that in position, and it's just been wasted. But it's produced a bite. Let's just hope we can get the guy in. Hope he's still on. Oh yeah, you're still on. Oh, all right, all right, all right, all right. Swam in my legs. Ugh. It's the world's smallest carp. It's gone round behind me. Oh, I can't get the landing up. Oh, that's the bollocks. Seen bigger tench. Wow, awesome. Chewing weed. I haven't had that much fun with my clothes on for a long time. That was absolutely awesome. It's the world's smallest carp, but wait till you see him. He's like seriously nice, zip linear, a very, very nice carp. Probably about 10 pound, but it might not even be that, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. He's a beautiful looking fish. What I want to do, we've got about 3 hours left till it gets dark, maybe a little bit more, and that rod is so tricky to get in position that I'm not going to be able to get it back in position, if you see what I mean. So I'm going to try and get it back on the money now and see if we can get a bite before it gets dark. I'm probably not going to leave the rod there during the dark. It just doesn't seem like a nighttime spot to me, but I could be completely wrong about that. But I want it down there for the next couple of hours. The dusk period, I don't see any reason why we couldn't get lucky again. So it's back with the marker float. A few casts to get it on the spot. We'll go around and we'll rinse and repeat, but this time I'll put a toughened hook bait on in case them coots come back, and get the rod back in the game. Then we've got work to do clearing that green weedberg there. I need to find a spot out there for the middle rod where they've been fizzing. So there's loads and loads to do. Let's get this float on the money. Now how cool is he? One of the best carp I caught this year. Absolutely sensational. Got a proper dink in his dorsal. He's got the tiniest, most withered little anal fin. Frayed edges to his pecs and his pelvics. That is the bollocks. What a beautiful carp on the marker float trick. It's back in position. I'm sure if we get another bite on it, the one thing we can safely say is it'll probably be bigger than this little fella. Brilliant. Okay, the rods are coming, well, the rod under the tree is staying under the tree because that's a mission to get it there. These two rods are in the way of my weed clearance, so I'm just getting these out of the way. Then I'm going to clear this weed here that came in with the fish. I'm going to try and clear that one as well, because if I am lucky enough to hook another fish, this is my playing zone tonight, and then I need to remove as much as I can of that big one there, because that is my line lay issue and playing issue as well, so lots of work to do. Daylight's just about slipping away now. We're going into night 2 and made a few little tweaks. But first of all, what about that carp, eh? That was the one. Proper in love with him. What a little character. Can we get another one? Remains to be seen, but we've got another night. So we're just over halfway through the session now, I guess. We've got tonight and then probably till lunchtime or something tomorrow. So the carp were very much up in this area. I think they probably still are. I'm hoping they still are, but we had to do a lot of work to clear the weed to make it fishable in terms of line lay, but also in terms of landing a fish should we be lucky enough to hook another one. So that necessitated a bit of a team effort, but lots of graft. I mean, there is a huge amount of weed that we pulled in. I've now got a channel going out to the zone, which is the same zone that I baited when I turned up 2 nights ago. Obviously it hasn't really been fished yet. We put stringers out there today, but this will be the first time it's been fished. So it had a hit of bait on the first night, it's been left alone, and other than clearing the weed and making it accessible and safe to angle, I've switched over to lead clips and big leads because there is still quite a lot of drifting weed. It's not ideal because the zone itself, although it's clean silt, it is quite soft silt. It's fairly, I'm not worried about the plug-in too much, but the 2.5 ounce leads on helicopters were bang on, but there's a lot of weed and I don't want my rigs to get moved, and I also want to be able to press the braid down through the water a little bit to that big lead without it being moved so I can get everything how I want it. So gone up to a lead clip, bigger lead, stuck with the stringers, soft link. That part of it stayed the same. I've added another 1.5 inches, 2 inches maybe to the hook links. And then I've just got busy with a spom. Put out probably about 1.5 kilos, 2 kilos of a mixture of 16s and 12s. So they're on the zone, that all went out sweet. And so I've got one rod still under the tree on the far margin. Do you know what? I suspect that at first glance is one of them zones that you look at and you think that's a sunny afternoon spot. But the nights are so warm. The fish, if they're up here in numbers still, I think they could go in under that canopy at any time and give me a bite. If we do get a bite on that rod, then I'll either not recast it or I'll put it out with the other pair on that strip, that channel. But that channel is where it seems to be at. It's the right range, it's nicely off the island, it's on it seems to be an intersecting point from the willow they're using a lot, the back of the island. And we just had a little liner on the island, on the overhang rod. So it's all looking good. I haven't got a bivvy up, we've not had dinner, it's been a long day for all of us, we haven't stopped. I'm going to go and get my bivvy out of the old swim, pack up all of this mess, tidy up I should say, and settle down for the night. We've got a bit of rain coming in, we've got peak moon tonight and into tomorrow, so we've got perfect weather. I'm really hoping that the Mere will throw us up another carp, hopefully a nice dark scaly one. Well, that was about the best night to be out carp fishing for as long as I can remember. Beautiful weather, really warm, drizzly all night, peak moon, good air pressure, carp were in the area. And it was hardly surprising really that I caught none. It was very surprising that I caught none. Not a bite on any of the rods. And they were rolling out there in the dark. Sounded like they were near the baited area. And then after about 10 o'clock, didn't hear any more. No liners, they'd gone. Quite incredible, really. So I've just been back down the bank to the swim we were in, and there's some fish fizzing in there now, so they're really running me ragged. It looks completely dead out here. There's no fizzing, there's nothing rolling. So I'm going to neck my coffee, and we're going to take 2 rods, chesties and alarms down there, deploy a couple of stringers where they're fizzing and see if we can take advantage of them. But yeah, head scratching times. Massive area of fizz up where this fish is just at the bottom. What a bite that was. It's picked up the other line. Not good. As I've had to thread both lines through this little gap to get the line lay. It's a common. Do you know what? He's actually coming in on the top. I might be able to land him from the bank. Heart-stopping bite out the blue. Very gnarly looking common. Come on, baby. They have proper run me ragged, these fish. If he hasn't got a name, we'll call him Bastard. They've just destroyed me. But we got one. It's a proper gnarly old dark looking common, just like that out of the blue. I was just thinking like they're fizzing past me. As soon as I put the stringers in, it seemed like they backed off and every bit of fizz was a bit further and a bit further. And then bang, like the most violent of takes, short range on the braid, and we got a carp. Awesome. Well, it came good, didn't it? On the last morning. And as I said yesterday, I think, every carp that I'm lucky enough to catch is the result of seeing and reacting. And that's exactly what happened here. Fish weren't in the zone this morning for whatever reason, and they were off back where we started, fizzing up, and it meant winding in and reacting while it was still bite time, and we're rewarded with this 29 3/4 pound common, proper old gnarly one, massive tail, huge head, massively wide as well. He looks like a big fish that's gone a little bit backwards in his old age. But yeah, a proper old Cleverley Mere common, brilliant. Well, that is a very old, original mere fish. Look at that, beautiful carp. I'll send you on your way, my friend. So wide. He's a bit loose round the tummy. He's one of them really big fish that's just gone a bit backwards in old age. Look at the size of the head and the... Here we go. All right, mate. Just coughed up a snail. That's what you've been eating, that's why I couldn't catch you. There he goes, brilliant. Well, as you can see down at the mere, we've got deep, clear water with towering weed beds. I mean, some of these weed beds are growing 12 foot off the bottom, you know, absolute walls. And we've got some snags in places. We've got the potential of very big fish and hard fighting fish, you know, so you need to make sure that your gear is up to the job, whatever scenario you're in. But certainly with these circumstances, it's going to test you and your gear a lot more than just open water fishing. So if I can, my first port of call when I'm dealing with weed is always braid. And I've been using the SBX now since well before it came out, and it's remarkable. The 40-pound one, yeah, you're not using it for casting to the moon, but for short to middle distance, there's nothing better. It's absolutely incredible, very robust. And so that's straight on the reel. And the reason for that, just in case anyone's wondering, is that when you have the amount of stretch you've got in mono, then the amount of pressure you can put on a fish is dissipated throughout that through the stretch factor. But with braid, the pressure you'll put in goes straight to the fish, and you can pop them out of weed a lot more easily. It does mean that quite often you can get them into the bank. So behind that, I've attached that 40-pound SBX to a TA leg core leader, which I tied up myself, 6 foot long. We've got a little top bead there, and obviously you can adjust that according to what you're fishing over. And that terminates down here with a heli rubber and a little C-clip. That's one of the 3-pound C-clips. I've been fishing a range of different lead sizes on this session, depending on what I need to do, but the bigger leads have gone on the 6-pound C-clip, smaller ones on that 3-pound C-clip, and that just sits over there. Means obviously the leg can come off if and when it needs to. The hook link itself is 25-pound Duo Fleck, which might surprise some of you. It's just a straight braid, no coating, super soft, super flexible, super supple. And I've tied that off at about 5 inches long with my favoured sort of hair exiting just right on the eye. So I'm tying one turn and then whipping underneath it. And that really is just to create exactly what you can see there. You pick the bait up and the hook is dropping down in that claw fashion. And it also means that when that hook catches hold, which is super sharp, that's a TA curve point size 6, the force of ejection on that bait is absolutely massive. And that's one of the things that makes such a basic rig work so well. If you imagine that you've got a little pop-up or a bit of waftery something, and it's balanced and it's in the carp's mouth in that vortex, when the carp tries to get rid of that, it's weightless, isn't it? It's all in there, it's finely balanced, straight out. Not so with this. You've got a heavy hook that's going to drop down into the floor of the mouth, and then a very heavy bait, which is, when that's expelled, that's going to act like a hammer on that hook point. And that is absolutely key to this rig, is the heaviness and weight of the bait. I don't use wafters, very rarely use pop-ups. For this rig, you want a bottom bait. Quite often I'll have a 20mm bottom bait on it, and that of course provides an even heavier hammer. A couple of dots of putty there on the hook link just to keep it down, and up here I've got a quick change swivel, heli swivel I should say, ring swivel, and then I've got one of the little TA crook beads, just goes over there to give me a bit of movement there. They're better really for, or were designed really for stiff links to give them a bit of movement, but I use them for braid as well. I think they're lovely, neat and tidy. Now further to this, you've obviously would have seen that I've been using the 3-bait stringer. I call it the Bermuda Triangle. It's just a forgotten thing. Nobody fishes stringers anymore. In fact, I remember being shown by Terry the circle stringer, the triangle stringer, in about '96, and we were using it a fair bit then, but no one uses it now. 3 boilies and a matching bottom bait is more than enough to get your attention from a passing carp. Doesn't represent any danger or arouse any suspicion. It's just a little cluster of bait that's waiting there to be taken advantage of. Another key thing with that stringer and the way that I tie it is that it secures the hair. So when you've got the hair coming off the eye like that, if I'm not using a stringer, then I'll use a bit of dissolving foam just to hold the hair to the shank so that it doesn't tangle on the cast. But as I said, most of the time I'm using a stringer, and that goes around the hook link, slides down over the hook. The hook sits inside the PVA tape, completely encapsulates the hook point, means that you do not ever get any tangles, and you're going to be presented over any filth that's down there, any silt or anything like that. The 3-bait stringer has been arguably my most potent weapon in the last few years. It's caught me some of my best fish, including my biggest UK carp. I use it an awful lot, and I will continue to until everyone starts using it. Because it's so old-fashioned, they'll probably leave me to it. But there you go, solid and reliable, with the little edge being a stringer. Catches me carp from just about everywhere I go to. Well, the marker rod trick has paid off again, and now, as usual, it's just a matter of praying we can get it into the bank through this weed. Just slow, constant, even pressure. Can't feel anything, didn't really feel anything at the outset. It didn't really give any hard lunges. I'm hoping there's not going to be a coot on the end, wrapped up in about 10 tonne of weed. It seemed to sort of try and yeah, the line angle, it travelled out to the right, tried to take me around a little thicket of twigs out there. But we're making slow, painfully slow progress. Like a sparrow dragging an anvil. It's coming though. I think it's going to be a repeat of yesterday, get in the chesties and try and sort it all out and net it down there somewhere, but it's going to be a bit of a mission to get this back across. And that was really out of the blue. I was sort of resigned to nothing else happening, bright sunshine, we only had one rod out, very little going on. There's been the odd little bit of fizz, but compared to yesterday, this whole zone is bereft of carp. So it's nice when you get a bite, it's even nicer when it comes out of the blue. Yeah, I think it's going to have to be the boat. They've certainly got some beautiful strain of carp in here at Cleverley Mere, haven't they? Absolutely exceptional colours, markings, shape, the whole deal. And that caps our session off really nicely, and it's, you know, probably catching a carp like we did this morning, just taking 2 rods down to the fizzers and then leaving that area. Some people might have thought that was a bad idea, but you could just see that the area was dead. And it was time to get back up here and put a rod back across to that willow, because every day I've seen them underneath there. So it's just about being proactive, being tenacious, using your eyes and reacting accordingly. And you know, it's come good. We've not been here for best part of 10 years, but we've come away with 4 chances, beautiful looking fish, stepped up gear, of course, to deal with the weed and snags and everything else that's going on. But the main thing has been the effort and the optical calories. It's all come good. Fantastic.